Hey YouTube, it is Luke with Sketchy Bikes. It is a cold Saturday morning here in Youngstown, Ohio area. Looking at my weather station, it looks like we are 26 degrees with peak winds at 22 mile an hour today. January 13th. Good day to turn on the heat in the garage and go out to the shop and see if we could get some work done on the CB750 project. I head outside, grab some camera gear, get set up and see if I can't make any progress. Whew. That wind is cold. Got some snow on the ground. Definitely a cold January day. Typical Ohio weather. Find my key. All right, I had the heat running in here. Get some light going. All right, there you go. Bike's sitting there as I left it last time. I'd like to get the oil drained out of it. Turn the light on the bench here. Turn on the overhead light so I could see on the bike lift. Get the exhaust off. Get the oil drained out of the bike. A couple of odds and ends, some wires. Get that disconnected. Get the oil lines all disconnected. And get the motor out. Trying to do YouTube really impedes getting work done on a project like this. Trying to document it, film it, keep up to date with all the video work. I'm not real good at it. I'm learning it. So part of me doing this is so I could get better at my video work and video cameras and using all this technology. So it's kind of cool. I watch other people do it. I figure I could do that. So gonna give it a go. I'll get some stuff set up and get to work. Okay, first thing I want to point out. I was trying to gather my tools to shoot this video, so I had the appropriate size Allen and the appropriate size socket to remove this exhaust. So these should all be metric. I grabbed my 14 and let's see, 14 millimeter. Kind of fits, doesn't really fit good. That is kind of rough looking, that bolt head though. So I grab a 9/16 and 9/16, boom, drops right on, fits good. It's tight, it's not even sloppy. So I am a little scared that someone may have used a standard size bolt in this head for the exhaust. So I'm gonna soak this all down with PB Blaster. Here, we're gonna hit each of these. Some blaster on all the bolts. Around the other side here. All right. Get those all good and soaked. And I tried that same socket over here, same deal. These both appear to be a better fit for a 9/16. So that'll have to be remedied if I get these bolts out without issue. I hope I do. Get them out and we'll check the threads, check the holes. Might have to do some work to the head to correct that. So to be determined. We'll just keep on working here. Okay, PB Blaster's been doing its PB Blaster things on this bolt for the exhaust. I'm gonna work on getting these out of here. This first Allen bolt. I don't know why they used a combination of Allen bolts plus some regular bolts, but that one came out no problem. So I'm gonna use, I have a 14 mil here, but I'm gonna use a 9/16 because that's what fit nicely on here. Boy, that thing came out real easy. So there is the bolt. I don't know if that'll focus. I'm gonna grab my bolt gauge here. So this will tell me the bolt diameter and thread pitch and all that stuff. So I am guessing that fits too nicely in the 3/8 hole. And if we look at, it's a 3/8 16, which is absolutely a standard size bolt. I'm guessing it probably should be maybe an 8 or a 10 millimeter metric. So I'm gonna have to find, well, here, we could check with this one. So this I assume to be the proper size, which is an 8 millimeter metric, and it's probably 1.25 threads per inch. So I'm gonna assume that the hole on here was wobbled out. So that's gonna have to be addressed with either heli coil or something else. So we'll figure that out once we get the head off and fix that proper. That sucks. All right, well, get the rest of these out. And we have another 8 millimeter Allen. And on the bottom side of this is I believe to be a 9/16. That's not gonna fit in there. Get a ratchet. Grab a ratchet with an extension. If you don't have any of these wobbly extensions, they're pretty nice for getting in tight spots. They're like a regular extension, but they just have the, if they're fully depressed, it's on good. If you pull it forward, it's got a little bit of wobble. It helps you get into some of those spots. So I will get this on here. Man, look at that thing. It's mostly a lot of dirt, but another incorrectly sized bolt for the exhaust. Let's move over to the other side. Set the camera up. Let's see what's going on here. Apologize for the poor camera work. Now, let me see. This actually feels too big. God, we got a mismatch of bolts here. That's even too big for a 14. Let me grab a 12. I'm willing to bet that's the proper size. No 12. Try 13. All right, 13 seems to be the ticket on that. And that's a lot tighter than the other side was. Hopefully these aren't cross-threaded or... Let's see. Got it with the ratchet here. These may be metric, but they also look a little bit bigger than the 8 millimeter. Wonder if somebody oversized these because they stripped out the holes. Man, they ran that bolt in there a mile. Holy cow. Okay. Got that out. Let's see, what size is that? Where'd bolt gauge go? I hung it back up. Keep track of what bolts went into what exhaust ports. What do we have here? 2 Allens. So that should be proper. Yeah, that's good. So I can get in here. I'm gonna need to use a ball end to get in here. It's loose enough to where get out my fingers. Okay, got that one out. And this bottom one, which is super loose. All right, bottom one is out as well. So that should get all the collars loose. All the pipes are loose on the head. All right, cool. Next order of business. Come over here. There's nothing else holding this exhaust on. It's just free floating. Header comes down, collector here. It's all held on back here. I'm just going to take this bolt off the bracket and the whole exhaust system should just pop right off. So I will set the camera. Let's see, where can I set the camera? That makes sense. Gas can in the way. Set the camera there. Got my, what was that, a 14, I believe. This thing getting loose already. Drop my nut. Washers. This exhaust isn't going back on here, so I'm not too concerned about it at the moment. Let's see. Off. Lower it down, out. There it is. The old exhaust is off. Set that aside. See what we're working with. Okay. That old exhaust is pulled off. Let's go to the other side. Because I have some light over here. Grab a flashlight, see what we're dealing with here. So, as you can see, very oily between the head and the jugs. I think that's where the root of my problem was. And up on the top too, pretty oily. There's some various O-rings and things within the head. A lot of carbon. Yeah, a lot of carbon in these cylinders. Exhaust gaskets are all still there. You can see the copper. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to address these threaded holes. Make them all the same. Make them all correct. Whatever the best way to do that is. So, I'll take a look at that once I get the head apart. So the other thing, gotta take the oil filter off. That'll be part of draining the oil. So that'll be next step. Okay, next up, got to get the oil out of the bike. So start by taking a look here in the actual oil tank. I mentioned in an earlier video, this is a dry sump motor. So what happens, grab a flashlight. Where's my flashlight at? Here's my flashlight. All right, see if we can look in there. That tank is, change the beam on this. I don't know if we could see in there with the camera. Pretty much bone dry. There might be a dab of oil in there, not much at all. Very little actually. So that's the drain on the bottom that goes into the motor. So it's basically empty. Because what happens is this bike sits, which unfortunately I had it sitting for a while, all the oil goes down and sumps into the bottom of the motor. So I'm gonna drain the oil out of the motor. Let's see if we can get some light on the subject here. Should help. What you need is a 17mm socket. Drain plug on the bottom. Crack it loose. And ideally, if the motor were hot, the oil would flow a little bit better. However, it's January, it's super cold, and we're just gonna let her drip. I don't think this is a magnetic drain plug. Yeah, it's not, but it's really, that light's a little, a little offensive there. It's really not too bad. I don't see a lot of sediment on here. Oil's pretty black. We'll see what it looks like in the pan after it drains for a while. Might smell like it has a hint of gas in it. I don't know. That number 2 carb, if you remember in an earlier video I had, it was letting some gas by the float. Some of that could have potentially leaked into the cylinder. Might have a hint of that here. So nothing too exciting. I'm just gonna let that thing sit and drain. Drain real good. Well, that's draining. Get a couple other little things done here. Let's see. Let that go. Still need to get the tachometer cable off. That's just a screw. JIS, not Phillips. I'm gonna put this back in so nothing goes in there. Get my vessel. My vessel right here. She's a draining. That obviously shouldn't be tight to where it would need an impact or anything, so pull that out. That just fits in there. The screw just goes over this groove in the tack cable and captures it. So here's a little pin that drives on. See the slot in there that turns off your cam. So put that back in there so I don't lose it. All right, tack cable's off. Simple but necessary. Plug wires need to come off. Let's see. I mean, those just pop right off. That's not a big deal. Leave those sit for a minute. Once that's done draining, we're going to take the oil tank off. And there's 2 spots it connects on the motor. Here and here. Which I think what I'm going to do, my plan of attack on this, I'm going to take the hoses off the motor. I'm going to leave them connected to the tank. And I'm just going to remove that whole tank assembly. So that'll get that off. Let's see, those are looking like 10 mils. And to get to those, we're gonna have to take the brake off anyways to get the brake lever to get the motor out. So I'm gonna pull the brake lever off. This is the brake light switch. We'll get that off as well. So let me grab a 10 mil. No, it's not a 10. That's a 12. Trying to work with one hand and hold a camera here. Trying to get some better perspective on these videos when I do them. So, all right, bolts out for the brake pedal, and I'm gonna set the camera right here. Hopefully, come on, don't follow me. Okay, cool. So that guy just wiggles off. Of course, the brake spring is still connected. Get a pair of needle nose. Look at those. Snap on. My buddy Jim got these for me for a 45th birthday / Christmas present, and I appreciate it, Jimmy. Those are by far the most badass pliers I own. They're a slip joint, they're needle nose, they're grippy, they fit up real nice and tight. So I'm not a tool snob, but I appreciate a good good tool when I see one. This, take some tension off. All right, there's a spring on the back side of here that's giving some tension on that pedal. So that's off. Set that to the side. And I'm actually going to pull this foot peg off now because it needs to come off anyways. So we're sitting right there. Might as well get it off. Let's see. That is probably... Nope, bigger than 18. Try a 20. Nope, it's a 19. See, if I was smart and planned these videos better, I would know all the tools required, have them all ready to go. But you guys get to watch in real time. All right, that's one to come up. Let's try to get that cracked. All right, we're spinning here. I'm gonna have to get a wrench on the other side. Or a wrench with more leverage on this side. Let's see. Nope. Okay. There we go. Once that foot peg came around, it gave enough tension to hold that. I did stick a wrench on the other end up against the foot peg, but honestly, I don't think that helped us at all. So bolt is loose, foot peg's off. I said bolt, I meant nut. Putting that back on there with the washer and lock washer so those don't disappear. We'll put this foot peg off to the side. Okay, so that's all clear to where we could get to. There are 4. Let me grab my light. And you can see where the oil lines connect. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have your return pumping out back up into the top of the tank, and you have your supply out the bottom of the tank going into the motor, basically gravity fed. So I'll gather the tools I need, and we'll get that pulled off too. I'm gonna let this drip a little longer before I do that, so I'll pause the camera and we'll get back to it when I'm ready. Okay, one of the things I forgot to do, we need to take the oil filter off the motor so we can get the motor out, get the whole housing out. This thing has an internal filter. It's underneath this cover, and basically there's a bolt that runs through here. It's a 12 millimeter. I don't know if it's the same on all of them. It happens to be here. See, as you crack that, you get the oil coming out of the filter housing. Some of you may notice I'm wearing glasses in this video. I wear contacts normally, but I turned 45 and I can't see up close. It sucks. So I ordered some glasses, and some people say your near vision works better if you're wearing glasses as opposed to wearing contacts. So that is yet to be determined, but so far so good. Haven't had to grab the cheaters. Get this thing off. So you can see where that threads into there. Now there's an O-ring. If you're changing your oil, keep this in mind. There's an O-ring in here on the outside of the housing. There's also, when you get the filter out, let me get some paper towels to set this filter on. All right, inside the filter there's a spring, which you see right there. That spring keeps tension on the filter. And at the bottom of the bolt, let's dump the oil out of that housing. Set that down. There's an O-ring that seals the bolt to this housing. So if we push that apart, we're gonna pop that out. See in that bolt, there's an O-ring right on here. So your new oil filter is gonna come with 2 O-rings. Some people probably wonder where it goes. Make sure you replace this one so you don't get leaks. So the little O-ring on there, big O-ring on the housing. There's also a way this housing sits. There's a notch, a thicker fin on the housing here that lines up with the notch on there, so you can't really screw this up and put it on upside down. So just a couple tips I've learned over the years of having CB750s. Had a few of these come through my hands. I don't know, this filter's pretty dirty, but I don't know, we'll see how it looks. Put that back in there, clean my hands up, and just wanted to share that part. Now the engine can come out of the frame and no clearance issues with the filter housing there. All right, we'll let everything drip and drain and come back to it. Okay, while the oil is draining, let's take care of a couple of the wiring harnesses that need to come apart. This is the main harness out of the motor. It has all the cables from the stator and all that stuff, and that has to come off. So there's just a tab on this connector. These are sometimes difficult. They're old. It's like an almost 50-year-old plug. All right, there we go. Got it apart. So doesn't really look too corroded. A little bit of corrosion on that side, but we'll hit it with some electrical cleaner and clean that up. This other cable, this is the for your starter, for the starter relay, so we need to get that off. Look at that, I lost my 10 millimeter. There we go. So that's just a 10 millimeter on top of the solenoid. Lock washer. Alright, that comes out. And there you go. So those 2 cables are free. The only other thing we have to get off the motor is the ignition. So there's a wire that comes out for the points, and that is your 2 cables, or 2 wires within that cable, blue and yellow. Pop those apart, and that'll free the ignition. Mine happens to have a zip tie on here. I'm gonna have to cut the zip tie off of here. Someone zip tied those up out of the way. So that just comes down, goes under to your points cover here. So wiring's disconnected. That's all dripping. I'm still gonna let that drip a little before I pull off the oil lines. So getting real close there to being ready to come out. Okay, to get the motor off, we still have to get the chain out. So to get that, also just to make it easier, I'm gonna take this cover off the countershaft sprocket, and then we'll get the chain taken off the bike. So, although it looks like it's part of the motor, it's really not. This cover is meant to come off so you can service your chain and get in there to your sprocket. So, 1, 2, those are 2 JIS screws come off, and we should be able to get this guy out. Little manipulation, so kind of greasy under there. We'll get that cleaned up. Set that to the side. See the countershaft sprockets in there. Let's look for the master link. Flashlight so we can see what we're doing. Let's see, China, Chinese chain. There we go. Okay, here's the master link. After years of screwing with master links and trying to pop them off, I bought the Motion Pro pliers, which they have a tip on them that's ground down. You could probably take a pair of linesman's pliers and do this too, but they also have a nice little groove cut into them where the pin for the chain link could grab. So it makes it a little bit easier to install and remove the master links. So just put it on, catch the edge, pop it off. In theory. There we go. All right, clips off. You put on a master link, you always put the clip with the rounded part facing the chain direction so you don't pop a chain off and catch it. So let's take that off. Put the link back in here. The clip back in here. Reinstall it so we don't lose it. All right. In there. Do that. Chains off. All right, cool. One more thing off the bike. Actually, it's a little greasy in there, but doesn't look bad. It's not like it's spewing oil all over. We have, oh, this came off the, this is a chain guide. It's wearable bushing. It fits on this cover that came off. So I'm guessing this fell off as I took it off, or it was just bouncing around in there. But I'm gonna say it came off as I took it off. That's my story. Other than that, that's out of the way. I took the other foot peg off here while the camera was off. So as far as motor mount bolts go, we got one here, one here, one on the other side, and one on each side down below. So I'm not going to pull this myself. I'm going to get a buddy to come over and give me a hand, and we will screw around with getting the C-hook on it and strapping it and using my cherry picker to extract the motor out of the bike. So getting there, making progress, real close. Actually all I gotta do is pull the oil lines, and then I can pull the motor mounts and spark plug wires out of the way and get the motor out. So this is probably going to end the video for now. Just got a tiny bit of work to do. I'll get that stuff done, and I think next video will be actually motor removal. I'm wondering about the breather cover up here, if I could keep this on. I don't know if I could get this cover off without, I might be able to get the top of that breather cover off. I don't know if that's going to give me the clearance to lift the motor up and out, or if I could get it out with that on. I'm going to try with it on first. I may just crack those screws while the motor's still mounted, so I could, in case I get in a pinch and everything's just floating there, I could take care of it. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Remember, check out Instagram at Sketchy_bikes, and like and subscribe to these videos. I appreciate it. It's something I'm trying to do more of, and hopefully you guys enjoy. Thanks.